If you want to pay less to cruise solo, then listen up. If you've ever considered booking a solo cruise, you've probably come up against what the industry refers to as a solo supplement. This is where a cruise line will charge you the per person rate for your cruise, plus an additional percentage of a second person, despite the fact you're in the room on your own. When I started cruising, this was one of my biggest frustrations because I just couldn't understand why some of the charges were so high, and they were in fact pushing me away from ships and away from cruise lines that I really wanted to try. After spending hundreds of nights at sea, I've learnt some things that help me to reduce and sometimes eliminate my solo supplement, and that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today in this video. If you've just found me today for the first time, then welcome. I'm Fraser. I use my YouTube channel to share my cruise experiences with you. I love to take you ashore and show you the ports that I visit, and I also like to share all of my hints, tips and advice to hopefully help you have the best cruise yet. If you like the sound of that, then all you have to do to come with me is click the subscribe button. Let's start today by looking at how high these solo supplements can be. It depends largely on where you're cruising, the demand for the ship, and a whole range of other factors, but I find that most solo supplements will sit somewhere between 40% and 60%, meaning that I'll pay between 40 and 60% of another person to cruise solo. I know, annoying, right? Let's look at what this means from a numbers point of view. If I saw a cruise advertised at $600 per person, I would expect most solo rates to then fall somewhere between $840 and $960. If you're new to cruising, this might all sound ridiculous, but believe it or not, these prices are pretty good in the current cruise market. I've seen many cruise lines, mostly those operating in the US, charge double fare to cruise solo, meaning that the cruise we just mentioned that's advertised at $600 per person will cost you $1,200 to travel solo. Ouch. The tips that I'm going to share in today's video will hopefully help you to minimise or even eliminate your solo supplement, so listen up. Before we jump in, let me tell you about today's video sponsor, the Cruise Maps. The Cruise Maps are a company offering bespoke, satellite precision customised cruise maps. What does this mean? Well, imagine coming home from your cruise and then receiving a beautiful map of the cruise you've just taken, which you could then either display in a frame, or you could keep a digital copy. Pretty cool, right? I've got one on the wall behind me when I'm working from a cruise I took a few months ago, and I love looking at it and remembering such a great trip. The thing that makes these maps different to pretty much anything else out there is that they map the exact route your ship took while you were on board. For example, my trip on Queen Mary 2 would show the exact point at which the ship rerouted to Halifax and then proceeded on afterwards, rather than some generic print showing New York to Southampton. If you'd like to order anything from the Cruise Maps, you can do so via their website, and if you use my exclusive discount code FRASER at SEA, all one word, then you'll receive a 10% discount on your order. Shipping is totally included globally, and you can use this discount code as many times as you like on both physical and digital products. One final point, don't worry if you've previously taken a cruise that you'd like to map, because the data from the Cruise Maps goes all the way back to early 2015 at the point of recording this video. So if you've been on a cruise since the start of 2015, that would apply to you. So remember, thecruisemaps.com, and the code you need is FRASER at SEA, and that will secure you 10% off your order. Okay, let's get started by looking at the first of 5 things which is hopefully going to help you minimise or eradicate your solo supplement. Up first, you need to be flexible with your dates, your cruise location, and also your cruise line. Starting with dates, this is probably the most obvious one. Of course, if you're not tied to specific dates, you can hunt down the lowest price. Lots of cruise ships operate on rotational loops, so if you've spotted a particular itinerary that you like the look of, check the weeks on either side of the one you're looking at, because there's a pretty good chance the ship will repeat that route, and prices might fluctuate depending on demand. What I mean by rotational routes is that if you find a 7-night Western Mediterranean cruise out of Barcelona, for example, you'll often find that one cruise line will base one ship in Barcelona for the whole of the summer season. That means that for a period of 15, 16, 17 weeks, that ship will just repeat that route over and over again. So always check the dates on either side. Next, cruise location. So many people don't realise that different parts of the world experience different peak and off-peak cruise windows. Cruising during peak or off-peak periods can not only affect prices, but also the number of ships that you're going to find based in a particular region. For European cruises, summer typically falls when the better weather arrives, which is between probably around May and September. Personally, I try my absolute best to avoid European cruises during that time, simply due to the fact that when it's warmer weather and when the ships are busier, there's a much lower chance of getting a good solo supplement. During those months, it might make sense to look at cruising somewhere like the Caribbean instead of Europe, but it is worth noting that over there, over the European summer window, that's hurricane and storm season for the Caribbean, so you definitely need to bear that in mind. That could mean that your cruise route could be slightly impacted by the weather, but you usually have absolutely nothing to worry about. Cruise lines are absolute experts at this, they're totally used to it, and they know exactly how to avoid the bad weather. For the Caribbean, you're going to find the peak season falls from about October to April, simply because that's when the weather's at its best. You'll also find so many more ships there during that window, so plenty to shop around. Dates and location aside, let's talk about cruise lines. One topic that you will hear coming up over and over and over again when you either book your first cruise or when you travel on any cruise is cruise line loyalty programs. Personally, I think life is far too short to focus on one cruise line, especially if you are going to be cruising solo and if you are going to be taking a large number of cruises. Rather than me limit myself to one cruise line simply to build points on a loyalty program, I would far rather cruise with whatever cruise line is giving me the best deals and the best offers, and most importantly, the lowest solo supplements. There's a huge part of this for me where I don't really want to encourage cruise lines that are charging double fare, because I personally think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're doing that for solo travellers. If I was to build up a loyalty status with one cruise line and they then started to increase their supplement, I'd have to start from square one all over again. So for me, I ignore loyalty programs and I'm open to trying pretty much any cruise line out there at least once. On that note, I should add that I think you need to be open to trying brand new cruise lines and trying things that might push you a little bit out of your comfort zone if you want to stand a good chance at getting rid of that solo supplement altogether. An example I would give is that I had never taken a cruise with Costa Cruises before last summer. Last year, I then ended up taking 4 cruises with Costa, and generally speaking, I found their product to be really interesting. It was so refreshingly different to what I'd seen on other cruise lines, and had I not been open to trying what is a very different and very European cruise line, I would never have known that actually I quite enjoyed it. Number 2. Be open to trying solo cabins. Most people, when they book their first ever cruise, don't actually come across solo cabins. They end up paying quite a high solo supplement because they book a cabin which is designed for 2 passengers. Therefore, the cruise line will sting them a little because that second passenger isn't in the room. Now, so many cruise lines out there offer single or solo cabins, which are rooms specifically designed for just one passenger. That means that while, yes, you will pay a little bit extra than the per person rate in one cabin, it's usually nowhere near as high. Some cruise lines that offer solo cabins include P&O Cruises in the UK, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line have one of the best solo programs I've ever seen. I'll show you more from Norwegian Cruise Line in a separate video that I'll link you up to at the end of this one, but Norwegian offer brilliant solo cabins at pretty good, at the point of recording this video, Prices. You'll find all of the solo or studio, as they call them, staterooms on a Norwegian ship within a secure area where only solo travellers can access. You'll find 2 or 3 decks worth of cabins in there, and there's also a private lounge area where you can go in, you can get tea, coffee, snacks, there's some wine vending machines. There's usually also a whole host of events and activities designed just for solo travellers. Now, that is on most Norwegian ships, and what I would say about cruising solo with them is that they've actually managed to turn the concept of a solo cruise cabin into a whole experience. So, Norwegian Cruise Line, if you stumble upon this video, very well done. So yes, number 2, be open to trying solo cabins. And when you are looking at booking a cruise, don't just assume that you're choosing between inside, ocean view, balcony or suite. Have a look through each of those categories, because you never know. You might just find a solo or a single traveller cabin somewhere that you're not expecting it. Number 3, consider allowing the cruise line to assign your cabin for you. This is a tip which is not going to eradicate your solo supplement, but what it will do is bring the cost of your cruise down, just ever so slightly. When you book a cruise, there are 2 different ways of selecting your cabin. Number 1 is that you can choose the exact room that you want to stay in during your cruise. If you choose to select that at the point of booking the cruise, you'll often pay a premium in order to do that. If you choose to allow the cruise line to assign you a cabin closer to the sailing date, that will then mean that you could end up anywhere on board the ship. You'll save yourself some money, and you can sometimes find that you'll get your room upgraded as a result of leaving it open to the cruise line, because you'll be put in whatever rooms are available a few days before you're sailing. So yes, consider having your cabin automatically assigned before the cruise rather than selecting it yourself. If you would like more information on how to select the perfect cruise ship cabin, if you would like to pay the premium, then head to the description of this video at the end, and that's where you'll find the link to a video where I walk you through a number of things that I think you need to be looking at in order to eliminate bad cabins and find the best ones. Number 4, be prepared to search, and then search some more. The idea of getting rid of the solo supplement is great, and I would love to say that in this video I'm going to give you all this advice that will mean you can just find all these cruises with little to no solo supplement really quickly. However, the cruel reality is that I spend a lot of time cruise shopping. I will spend hours trying to scour through various websites, various search engines from all different cruise lines, trying to find fares that don't charge me a high solo supplement. A couple of things that I would say will absolutely help with your searching. Number 1, you need to sign up to newsletters and sign up to all of the promotions that are coming out from the cruise lines. Almost every cruise line out there offers an email newsletter where they'll drop into your inbox every week or every few days or every couple of weeks. And that email will offer you a summary of all of the current promotions that they're offering to encourage you to book. Now, that sometimes will be, for example, discounted drinks packages, additional onboard spend, but those emails can also be where they announce the cruises that have got really low or no solo supplements. So make sure that if you are looking to get rid of your solo supplement, you sign up to all of those cruise line newsletters, and you might just be surprised with what could drop into your inbox. The other bit of advice I would give is that you really should be connecting with a good, reliable travel agent. I booked my first couple of cruises independently of a travel agent, and after that, I then built a connection with one who I now religiously use for every single cruise that I travel on. I think that booking through a travel agent is absolutely key, because if something does go wrong, unfortunately, with your booking, your travel agent will be able to solve it so much quicker and so much more effectively than you ever would be able to. It is an absolute blessing in disguise if you have a problem with a cruise booking to have a good travel agent that you know has got your back to make sure that you put things right. Now, I can't promote my current travel agent in this video, but if you'd like to find out more about who I book and if you are based in the UK, then just come and drop me a message over on, for example, Instagram, and I'll be able to connect you. But yes, absolutely make sure that you sign up to cruise line newsletters to keep an eye on promotions, and also get yourself a good, reliable travel agent. Finally, when booking your cruise, if you're looking to minimise or get rid of your solo supplement, don't always assume that you're going to find yourself cruising in the lower grade cabin categories. This one blew my mind, and so many people don't know to check this. I've seen so many cruises where you can often find that more premium cabins are actually cheaper than the less premium. The example I would give is that on a cruise that I've got coming up in a few weeks' time, I'm saving money by booking a balcony cabin because it worked out slightly cheaper than booking a cabin on the inside of the ship. Now, how does this work? Because you're probably thinking that in itself makes absolutely no sense. And don't worry, I hear you. This works because a lot of the cruise industry operates on what's called a supply and demand model, where the price of rooms will increase as the supply decreases. So, for example, with those inside cabins on the cruise ship I've just mentioned, you'll find that maybe 80 or 90% of the inside cabins are sold out, which will therefore make the remaining cabins significantly more expensive. On that ship, you might also find that only 25 or 30% of balcony cabins are sold, which means that the cruise line will reduce the price of them to increase occupancy. It's a bit of a no-brainer, and it does operate very similarly to hotels on land. This is something that, before my first cruise, I had absolutely no idea about. I just always assumed the prices would be higher if I was booking a better cabin. So, going back to the point that I mentioned earlier about you never know when you're going to find a solo cabin, so make sure you check inside, ocean view, balcony and suites. Do exactly the same in this example, because sometimes you might find it's cheaper to cruise with a window than cruise without one, and you might also find it's cheaper to cruise in a balcony cabin. That's it. That's 5 things that you can do to hopefully help reduce or eliminate your solo supplement. If you enjoyed this video, then please do support my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons, because they massively help my content to reach more people and they really help my channel to grow. I've also got a free email newsletter that I would love to get you signed up to. It takes all of 2 seconds to sign up for that. All you have to do is go to my website, www.FRASERATSEA.com, and then up at the top you should see a tab where you can sign up to that newsletter. All I need is your email address. It takes 2 seconds, and then I will send you a weekly digest that will offer you a bit of an update on everything that's going on here at Fraser at Sea. Why not join me in another video? In this one, I'm going to walk you through the solo traveller concept from Norwegian Cruise Line that I mentioned earlier in this video, based on my experiences while I cruised on board Norwegian Escape. I'll hopefully see you over there.